What's up, everybody? We are here with my, I guess I'll call you a friend. I met twice now, Mr. JIMBO HART, who is known for his for being a great human, a great Twitterer, and also lends his talents to Jason Isbell in the 400 unit.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate your confidence.
Oh, hey, man. I as like a super quick thing, I met Jimbo at Luck Reunion in Texas. I was playing with Abby Hamilton, and we had just the general honor of being there. It was kind of the first like big thing that we had. Big's being relative, but like we're from Kentucky. We went all the way to Texas. The plants look different.
Oh yeah, it's another world.
Foliage,
you get across the Mississippi and things change.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and so
it's a different world over there.
We get over there and it's like, I don't know, you're on Willie Nelson's farm and everything's surreal and everyone's nice because they don't like oversell the tickets.
I mean, how could you not be nice? You're at Willie Nelson's ranch, you know? It's a beautiful place.
It really was.
It's really kind of like, and it puts you in this sort of like relaxed state of mind because they really set it up nicely and, you know, everybody knew everybody.
Yep.
And,
that's cool. And you guys were an unannounced headliner.
Yeah,
so that was kind of weird. Coolest part.
That was kind of strange. I mean, I definitely felt honored.
Yeah.
You know, but it was really hard to not tell my friends about it.
Yeah.
And then when we showed up, people were looking at us like, "Wait, you guys are here?
Yeah.
What? What?" And it was kind of funny.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I was literally like. They had this little like barbecue artist line, and I turned around. And I'm like, oh. I don't know if I can say anything or not. I was like, I have to say something.
Yeah.
but
I'm glad you said something.
Man, I'm glad I did too. You're such a cool dude to just sit there and chat with me. And and then I went and I watched Side Stage, y'all's performance, which was cool to kind of see it from that angle.
Yeah, it's different.
It is different.
The stage sounds different on the side of the stage than it does in the front of it.
Yeah, which was cool because I've seen you guys.
You can hear Chad really well from the side of the stage.
Yeah. And the Leslie was the coolest because I'm like feeling it in my chest. I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Bass frequencies and the Leslie, bass frequencies for the cabinet.
I feel like when we hit a milestone with our band when we got the capability to bring a Leslie with us.
Totally. Totally.
Because it changes everything.
Yeah.
You know, organ sound is cool.
Yeah.
But a B3 with a Leslie is a physical force.
Yep.
Yes.
You know, and I mean, even if you're, like in our case, we use in-ear monitors, but still, you know, it's so much more to it than organic. There's mechanical sounds and wheels turning.
It hisses and it's like,
and
like
some days it doesn't work.
Yeah, it's unhappy.
People get upset and they have to call somebody and they can't fix it.
The moon's in the wrong
awesome
spot.
Again. It's cantankerous. It kind of has its own sort of soul.
Yeah.
You know, and it does things sometimes that Derry can't figure out and the techs can't figure out. They're like, it's fine yesterday, you know.
Yeah.
But
so sensitive to like power, and like really everything.
That sort of I feel like that changed the game in terms of what our live sound was capable of as a band.
Yeah,
definitely took a turn.
It's cool too because you know you've got the bass and the kick and all the foundational stuff, and then you get the extra stuff. And like I'm not downplaying like adding additional guitar players or aux players or anything like that, but the Leslie is just
It's like that wall of guitar amps, you know.
Exactly.
It's got to be. It's part of the house. You know? And once you get the house built, it's like, oh, this is how it's supposed to be.
Yeah. This is how a rock band's supposed to be.
Yeah, it's supposed to feel like this all the time. Then you get spoiled and and all that.
That's kind of a good pivot. I've been kind of saying this to some guests we had, and we're still like a pretty new content situation. So we appreciate you being one of our kind of first supporter guys.
I'm glad to be here on Bassed podcast.
I want to like not just go like other people kind of ask the like, hey, what's the first time you ever picked up a bass? Or hey, what's the one? And that stuff's like really important too.
Sure.
But I like to be the nerdy, closer to Premier guitar version of bass because it's like you get to that. You have a great Premier guitar rig rundown. I think it was like 3 years ago.
It's been a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you?
A few things have changed, but it's basically the same thing.
Okay. Still. What has changed?
Well, I changed out my drive pedal because it started giving me some issues, and I just wanted to try something different. And it's basically a Klon clone.
Yeah.
The one that I was using, and my tech, Dave Brown, who is an awesome individual, told me about this. This is, y'all gonna think this is silly as hell, but he told me about this clone that he found on Etsy.
Nice.
That's apparently made in China, and it's like $30.
Yes. Yeah.
And you can pay an extra $9 to get the gold paint upgrade.
Yes.
So I paid the extra $9 for the gold paint upgrade.
Sure.
And it looks like a tiny little Klon Centaur. But it's like way smaller than the Klon. And so I put it on my board, and it's worked really well up until about a couple of weeks ago. It's starting to get kind of noisy.
Right.
You know, like bad noisy.
Yep.
I'm going to have to replace it soon.
With another one for $30.
I mean, why not? Why not?
It's like I
know
got a
I'm going to
backup.
get 3 or 4 good months out of it.
Yeah.
And then it's going to start eating itself.
I mean, dollar to time ratio, you're getting value.
Yeah. I think, by the time, I decide to do a different scenario on the board,
Sure.
I'll have already bought a Klon.
Oh, yeah.
Clones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My gear fetish has never been to a Klon yet.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting. It doesn't necessarily lend itself to bass.
right, does it some low end loss?
There's
or?
a bit of low end loss, and there's a lot of upper mid range, like
Yeah.
that gets
Perfect
added
for
on.
bass.
Yeah, it's perfect. That's exactly what we want. But sometimes, if it works out really well, like when we do 24 frames, for instance, for the first half of the song, Chad's just pounding away on the floor tom, which gets all up in bass world.
Yep.
It sure
Yep.
does.
So if you just eliminate that possibility,
Yeah.
it doesn't get all up in bass world.
Yeah.
So if you take all of the woof out of the bass, give it a little bit more knock and a little bit more
Sure.
eek, eek, eek kind of area, then it gets to be a little more heard.
Yeah.
And then at the point of the song where he lays off the floor tom and just goes to rocking, I turn the thing off and
you're back.
big beautiful bass tone.
Right.
Or
That's
at least
cool.
in my mind, I don't know if everybody else
Being
is, but
humble.
Do you
That's what I aim for.
Yeah. Do you try to figure some of that stuff out in your rehearsals if you
No.
still do that, or do you talk to front of house
I
at all?
don't really rehearse that much.
Cool.
Like,
Because
hardly ever.
you're literally a unit.
Yeah.
Oh, this guy's good.
We are cohesed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
We've been living together for a long time.
So you have the freedom. I mean, obviously you are the temperament of the band and how everyone feels and how this should whatever. But I like that you still kind of bring some new tricks or some new dries or some new flavors,
I do think we all have a responsibility to push the craft forward.
Right.
I think, and that's hard to do with the bass because, you got 4 strings, 2 hands.
Yep.
Don't get me wrong, you can do a lot with those.
Oh, yeah.
You can do 90% of it is that.
Yeah.
If not 95 or 97% of it is that. But yeah, I mean, I'm lucky. Jason's open-minded enough to let me try some things.
Heck yeah.
And he trusts me enough to let me try some things, and he'll let me know if it sucks.
Sure.
In the best, awesomest way
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
And in a way that usually I don't get in my head about. It just makes me consider, okay, well, let's do something better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
It might not be that was a bad idea. It's just that, there's something better. There's always something better if you're in the studio anyway, and it's knowing when to stop chasing that. And thankfully, Jason's also really great at knowing when to make me stop chasing it.
Yeah. That's cool.
And working with Dave Cobb was like that too. He was very free, and he would give me a lot of freedom, but if I needed to be reined in, he'd rein me in a good way. And I like that.
Yeah.
I like being reined in a bit sometimes.
Sure.
You know, because the creative part of it, you just immediately throw everything at it.
Right.
Sure.
you know, if you throw 100 darts at the wall, 20 of them are going to hit the target at least, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you know, but as you do it more, you hone it down to, okay, I'm throwing 5 arrows at the thing.
Yep.
And 4 of them are going to hit 20.
Mm-hmm.
And this weird one over here is going to hit something else, you know. And you just, you know, after some time, you learn which arrows to throw at the wall.
Totally.
Yeah.
You know, which ones are gonna are just gonna go through the wall or not even come out of your hand or just, you know, as darts do sometimes.
Yeah, I started really getting into you guys in that like southeastern area because that was around the time where I started getting bit by the recording bug, and so a lot of things that started really, you know, I got really obsessed over is like textures and songs that record to tape versus don't record to tape, or, you know, so obviously I immediately get into like a Dave Cobb or a whatever. And so from that, I was like, I went back and listened to, you know, as much as I could. And I'm like, this is some of the best like tones, mixing, whatever that I've ever heard.
Yeah, it's a great record.
It's astounding.
Yeah. I didn't play on that record.
You didn't play it? What?
I didn't play a single note on that record.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's a great record.
It's a great record.
Yeah.
Yeah. I played on everything else pretty much, but I didn't play on that record.
And what else with Dave Cobb did you work on?
Something More Than Free and Nashville Sound and Reunions.
Yeah, I meant Something More Than Free.
And then I did some stuff with Amanda, with Dave on the side, and that was a lot of fun.
I think I saw maybe some live videos or something from her stuff. I kept seeing you guys kind of backing her solo album-ish.
Well,
is it solo? Seems
yeah.
like still the family affair.
Yeah, we've played on a bunch of her records too.
Yeah.
This last one that she did, Take It Like a Man, was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Working with Lawrence Rothman was really awesome.
Yeah.
Completely different producer than anybody I've ever worked with.
Okay.
In a really, really fun, sort of creative and cool kind of way. You know, they'll come out into the room while you're in the track. Like if it's a good take, if it's cooking, they'll come out of the control room and dance in the middle of the studio.
Nice.
While you're cutting.
Yeah.
And folks don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
You know, folks are worried about like, oh, my shoes are going to make noise on the floor.
Your
Totally.
keys jingling.
Right.
Yeah. Or the vibe has to be encapsulated and not touched.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But no, Lawrence will come out on the floor and dance with you. And like,
It's awesome.
Let's go.
and that's when you know you're on it. Like,
Yeah.
when they come out of the control room and start dancing, you're on it. Like, if they ain't coming out of the control room and dancing, or if they're not dancing in the control room, you're not on it. And it means you're probably playing too much.
Yeah.
And,
True.
Lawrence is the sort of producer that you know, minimalism works really, really well for. You know, there is a big difference, I think, between minimalism and less is more.
Sure.
And playing simply.
Sure.
Like, those are 3 completely different things to me. You know, I don't subscribe to less is more.
Okay.
Because I'm a James Jamerson fan.
Yeah.
And I'm a Paul McCartney fan.
Yeah.
I'm a David Hood fan.
Those guys they're moving.
I'm a Stanley Clark fan.
Yeah.
I'm an Abe Laboriel fan.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a Bakiti Kumalo fan. I'm a Tommy Cogbill fan. I'm a Duck Dunn fan. Like, there's so many cats that made the blueprint, and they didn't play big notes all the time. You know, they didn't pare it down and simplify, and they didn't do that. You know, they played a bunch of crazy shit.
Yeah.
You know, that makes you go, what did he just do?
Yeah.
If you're a bass player, you know.
Yeah.
And then you want to try to do that.
Right.
Make the next guy go, what the fuck did he just do? You know? And so, but when someone really knows how to be minimalist about things and to apply it to where structurally things are playing, it can really be very effective, you know, and can really allow for tonal things like you're talking about, like to really manifest instead of, you know, just plug in the P bass and give me whole notes.
Right.
You know, it might not be a P bass. It may be the ukulele bass. And then there might be some processing after that makes the ukulele bass sound even bigger than it does already when you plug it into some tubes. And
that's cool. Nice. With your recording experience, what do you usually? I know sometimes I think now you have two Nobles. Is that correct? You have one that you leave, and you have one that you bring with you.
I feel like I feel sort of stupid for having two of them.
It's awesome.
But the old one is number 19.
Yeah,
and it's first generation. It has a deep switch on it. It's the mojo, man.
It's got the tubes coming out of the top too.
Yeah. And when we built my amp rack for the road gig for our show, part of it was to put in a shelf where I could let the Noble live, so that I didn't have to worry about those tubes getting bumped or anything. Yeah. I love the design jack, but that was hairy for a minute. But it sounds so good. Yeah, it sounds so good, and I hesitate to say that the old one sounds better than the new one, or the new one sounds better than the old one.
Sure,
they're identical in terms of functionality and what they do. There's some design things that are different about the two.
Yep,
that took me a second to kind of get a hold of.
Because you've always been a deep switch or an Ampeg, what is it, the ultra low switch. You've always been that guy.
I've been rocking with the deep switch off lately.
Okay.
And I think that's because
this is breaking news.
Yeah. Well, I love it in the studio. In the studio, it's always it's a no-brainer.
Totally.
But I think for the live show, we play in so many different size venues. Some of them are really big.
That low mid thing you kind of need.
You can't pump 20 into a big old room. You just can't do it. I mean, you want to, but it's just not, the physics of the place can't handle it.
Yep.
You'll do damage to the building.
Absolutely.
And then you're not really, then you're going in the negative, so to speak.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. But
I actually had my Noble modded. Yeah, I sent it to Jack because I wanted kind of I would never use the high pass filter, but I liked it in theory, and I'd actually sometimes use a second high pass filter to filter out, 30 and below ish, like everything I kind of wouldn't hear out of a cab. Right, I would sometimes filter out for almost an effect, without having to introduce distortion. So I just randomly emailed him, and I was like, hey, this high-pass filter, I don't like that it goes up that high. I know that, like, other people, it goes up really high, then they boost the bass a lot, and it does something really cool. But I never really used that sound. So I had to move it. I asked for 60, and I think he got it as low as he felt like it was doing something. So it's more like 70, 80, and then I boost the bass a little bit, and it gets like
E-string back.
It's like a low. It's just like a low mid, like thing. It's
very
awesome.
Cool.
I go back and forth a lot. If I walk into, so right now when I'm playing with Abby, the swing of types of stages we play is pretty crazy. We'll do like a real DIY dive bar, and then do luck reunion, and then do whatever. And so if I'm on stage and I can tell there's just no control in the low end. Right. Like I'm doing damage to the kick drum. Right, yeah. And there's no thumping in the room. It just like
can't
it's just
hear
uncomfortable.
The vocal
and
chest.
Totally. I'll just flip that on, and the whole room goes like just a little tighter. Yeah. And it's cool. And I can also hear myself a little bit more because I'm getting a little bit low mid.
Yeah, it's insane how the physics of it all comes into play whenever you amplify things. It's in theory, you want to be able to hear all those rich low frequencies. But if you're standing in front of an amplifier, it's only going to produce what it can. Right. And some of those frequencies are so low that you're going to have to be standing several feet away before you can ever actually hear those things. And so you lose sight. Sometimes it's easy to lose sight of that happening. I used to be really bad about just, like, for instance, I had this SWR head for years it was great, but I kept popping the filter caps in it because I would always run the EQ wide open.
Like everything up? wide
all
open?
of the sliders to the top.
Oh, you're like
old-
juicing it. Like,
The old Levenizer.
The bass all the way up, the treble all the way up, the transparency knob all the way up. And then I would turn the master volume all the way up.
oh my gosh.
And then I would just barely gain it in. You know, I would just gain it in to where the light might flicker every now and then if I really hit it hard. And then it would sound like I wanted it to sound, you know, like I thought bass should sound. And I'm sorry I'm off the microphone here, but
That's okay. I'll mix it.
you know, and then I figured out later that, no, dude, all you're doing is making the whole place get sick, and you're getting loud. You're pumping all these frequencies, and you're hurting your amp, like you're stressing it out. And so then it was a whole process of training myself to not having to be enveloped in richness.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, as a bass player, I feel like it just feels cozy and warm to be sort of enveloped in the gooiness of the bass. And it's a real comfortable place to be.
Right.
Unfortunately, it's not always sonically great for everybody in the audience.
Right.
You know? So you kind of have to get over that at some point and just get skinny again and get used to it, you know?
Yeah.
It might be incredible when you're home. Right?
Yeah.
And
in
then
the
you're
garage.
right. It's like you were
Right,
saying
yeah.
earlier, you put it with a Leslie, you put it with a floor tom.
Yeah.
The warbliest of bass frequencies. I mean, it's like, it's just like,
Takes
I mean,
off.
it's it's such a chaotic soup.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay, well, you know, this might be perfect for me. But then you put it in this boomy room, you're like, I gotta shave some off the top.
Yeah,
and the
it
bottom.
becomes to where it
Yeah.
becomes so much so that you can't even hear yourself.
Yeah.
You can't be heard.
Chaotic Soup's my new band name.
Chaotic
Ooh,
soup.
Chaotic Soup's a good band name. It's kind of like an homage to Blind Melon Soup.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of my favorite records of that era. Shannon Hoon, rest in peace.
What do you like about it? I'm not super familiar.
Oh, it's just great. It's just great. I mean, you got Shannon Hoon who sings above the stratosphere most of the time. And the bass tones are really like grindy jazz bass. Ba-da-da, and the riffs are great. Like that song Galaxy, the
I have to listen to this. This sounds
it's
amazing.
driving. It's
I know
really
some-
great
I
record.
know some Blind Melon, but I'm not sure what album it falls off of.
Yeah.
What era is this? Is this
Soup,
like
Soup was their
2000s?
second album.
Okay.
The first album was the one that had the Beehive Girl or the Bee Girl video.
You know their hit, right?
What's that song?
No Rain?
Yeah, No Rain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's,
I don't know.
There it is.
Smash. I'd play for
my
2
short-term
seconds.
memory jumping, jumping the house with me there.
I'd
Yeah.
play 2 seconds. You'd be like, that song.
Yeah.
It's
Okay. Yeah.
No, you would know it immediately. You're good. I'll show it to you later.
So their first album was pretty great, you know, but Soup, man, I don't know, they just took it next level.
There's a track called Hypnotize and Harmful Belly that are both phenomenal and odd sonic compositions. Like they're like the harmony may not be, and I feel like is on par for the grunge scene that was simultaneously happening.
Yeah.
Which I wouldn't lump them into, but there's tons of aspects of this.
Sure.
Not quite atonal, but these interesting melodies and chord progressions and
The one thing that was different to me about Blind Melon and the grunge scene is the records didn't have quite as much chorus over the mix.
Yeah.
As opposed to like some of like Nirvana stuff and Soundgarden stuff. Maybe it was a little more wobbly from side to side in general. But Blind Melon stuff is just
it is
just raw. There's not all of that modulation going on.
It totally is. I agree.
And Shannon Hoon's doubling skills were so haunting. Like he sounded like a ghost already, you know, and I mean, it's such a shame that he left us, you know, when he did, but because I feel like that band had so much more good music in them to go, you know. And,
I agree.
but yeah, I love that record, man, especially Galaxy. Galaxy's
Now I
my
have to
jam.
check it out.
We'll educate ourselves on the
Yeah.
way here.
I know I got
Galaxy,
like
dude,
5
it's
hours
such a
before the
great
show,
song.
so I'll have a lot of listening to do.
Yeah.
Well, research.
Maybe here's a good pivot because we've kind of mentioned that you're using an in-ear mix, but you've also got a wonderful amplifier on stage.
Oh yeah.
How do you?
1-2 combo.
Yeah. How are you mixing these? How do you? Are you mic? Is a cab mic'd?
Yes.
It is mic'd.
Yes.
Okay. So are you monitoring all mic signal, or you blend it with the Noble, or?
Well, there's actually 3 lines.
Oh, yeah.
I use 3 lines, which is crazy.
Crouching Tiger, hidden line.
Yeah, our front of house guy, because we record every show now.
Oh, cool.
I don't know if I'm supposed to tell everybody that or not, but
Strike.
I think everybody records now because
Might as well.
It's an
consoles are
evaluation
digital.
thing.
You know,
Everything's
everything.
multi-track.
Avid
It's
owns
there.
the world. You know, like might as well record it every night. But at some point, our front of house guy asked me, Kane Hogsett, who rocks, asked me to supply him a clean DI, pre everything. So Dave took my pedal board and we put a Rupert Neve DI
There it is.
under the board,
Yeah.
just after my volume pedal,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
so
you're still swelling it.
nobody has to write my sweeps for me in post.
Yeah.
After, so the chain, I go into the, Michael Bethencourt made a junction box for me a long time ago.
Yeah.
So I go into the junction box and then to the volume pedal and then to the Rupert Neve. And then that goes out to the house. And then it goes back into my board through all of my stuff. All my stuff that I'm still surprised that I need sometimes.
Yeah.
But I use
right?
them.
Yeah.
And so and then after that it goes to the Noble. And so the Noble is sort of the wet DI.
Right.
And so there's clean DI, wet DI, and then the amp.
Sick.
And I prefer a 57
Really?
on the cab.
Yeah.
Again, because it skinnies up a little better.
Exactly. Same just a little bit of. Well, a cab does too.
Yeah, the cab's going to skinny it up a little bit. And we tried the Beta 52. I feel like we might have tried a D12 at one point.
I love my D12, but I've never used it on bass.
Yeah, but
I like an RE20 on bass.
yeah, I do too in the studio.
Yep. In the studio, exactly.
But the 57 wound up winning.
Yeah.
And so I just rock a 57. And I feel like it's probably the most, people love to hate on a 57.
Oh, I love them.
But they just
They're
can't.
cool.
But you can't.
Yeah, like it's
you
the
can't
ultimate
hate a
utility.
57, dude.
Yeah.
Because
the
57,
people's mic.
you put it on any damn thing and it sounds good.
Yeah.
If you only have one SM57
Yeah.
and a laptop, you can make a whole damn record.
Yep.
A real good one, too.
Yep.
You can.
You can mic an acoustic with it, acoustic guitar. Absolutely. You can mic an upright bass with the damn thing.
Yeah.
You can mic a snare drum, you mic a kick drum. It ain't gonna sound great in the kick drum. Or if you only have the one, put it right in the middle of the kit. Right next to the tom, right beside the ride cymbal and sort of the Volst, they call it, position.
Yeah.
Dude, there's your drum kit.
Yeah.
Sounds great. You don't need no overhead. Just stick a 57 on it.
I'm with you, man. I love
It's good enough for Tom Petty to sing through. It's good enough for, should be good enough for everything.
That's right. I was going to say, dude, the list of people that have recorded like the full record vocals on a 58 is crazy.
It's crazy.
It's like,
And these
you're like, I
things.
can't believe that. Those
These things.
Yeah.
The Shure SM7B.
Same design, same capsule, I think.
Yeah.
It's just like moved back. But it's like, it's just
a little bit of
great.
this and a little bit of that.
Yeah.
And then, on this other one, we'll put a ball on it. And-
Right, exactly.
But that changes the way the capsule responds to the environment. You know, anytime you restrict it, it changes it.
Yep.
You know?
It's just great workhorse mics. When I made my studio, that was like, people always talk about the classic mics and the classic whatever. And so it was like, my goal was generally to acquire the classic things that were reasonably priced.
Sure.
So that then I can decide what new stuff actually is better.
Yeah.
Or what, and kind of go from there. So I've got a D12 on kick, which is great. And like an RE20 and the 421s, the older ones. And
the gray ones?
No, not the gray. It was the gray ones came out simultaneously.
Those are so vibey, man.
But they're cool. There's like a white one too that turns really nicotine yellow. That is super cool.
Nicotine yellow.
Because everybody
That wasn't
smoked in
my
the studio
crayon,
back then.
Right, exactly.
And I mean, I remember days, even at Fame, when I first started working there around the turn of the century, which is odd to say. After they sort of accepted me in a way as somebody that could work there sometimes, I actually brought this ashtray from my house because back in those times, people gifted people ashtrays.
Right, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And especially a recording studio because everybody smoked.
Yep.
Everybody smoked in the studio.
Yep.
You be smoking in the control room and shit, you know? But like, I brought them this ashtray that I found at the antique store, probably from the 50s, that was like this, it looked like a log. Like a cutout of a log.
Okay.
But the internal part was like this really pretty, like green and black sort of milky glass kind of situation. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. And I think it's still there. It's out. Last time I saw it, it was out on the front porch area where you can hang out and have a smoke.
You're still in the building.
Yeah.
Or around it.
But I remember, man, we used to smoke like freight trains in there. All of us did.
Yeah.
All of us that smoked anyway.
It's kind of funny too, because like there's a vital part missing when you get like some pre-relic basses or whatever. And you're a big part of that is this around smoke all the time.
They don't smell right.
That Olympic white is not going to turn as yellow as a 60s P bass. It might get close, but
there's no way
it's
you
not
can
going to be the same.
I have a 63 P bass that unfortunately before I got possession of it, it had been painted a really bright white.
Oh, okay.
A really, really bright white, like blinds you in the snow. And so I took it to John Scott at Bluesman Vintage, and he redid it in an Oli white and put the original pit guard back on there, which is a feat unto itself because it was wavy gravy, man. Yeah. I mean, it was a quarter size smaller than it originally was. You know, like he had to. He's like, I'm not going to tell you how I did that, but man, I hope you like it. Yeah. And I do. I love it. He did a wonderful job. Yeah. He and his whole shop did a wonderful job. But yeah, now it's more Oli white. But still, it's missing that creaminess that you get when it's just around smoke a lot.
You just got to leave like the bass, at your grandma's who still just leave it there for a couple years. Yeah, to get that back. Maybe take the pickups out. Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Or maybe not.
Just let them sit there. Let them all age together.
Marinate.
Marinate. That's sauce.
Yeah, that's awesome.
At some point, you're going to have to deox it anyway.
That's true.
The best thing to do is just let it all get dirty.
That's right. Yeah, so let's maybe pivot to like basses. You're a big Sadowski guy these days.
I am.
You also have acquired some other stuff I've seen, like a Mike Lowell, I think.
I have a wonderful Mike Lowell bass.
So it seemed like maybe you were more on the vintage Fender train, and I'm sure that you're still always, like, how could you not be?
Yeah.
But now you're bringing round wounds and active basses.
Yeah, I'm changing it up.
You're changing it up. What has led to this change?
I think our catalog is a big part of it.
It's fair.
And I must say that in relation to that, I think meeting Jason Newstead and him giving me a Sadowski bass out of the kindness of his heart, his huge, generous, awesome heart, he gave me this beautiful bass. And it allowed, first off, I've never really had good luck with flat wounds on a jazz bass. Okay. For me personally, they just never, they don't give you enough of the jazz bass thing, and they take away too much of the P bass thing that you can get out of the front pickup. Yep. Just something about it that never set well with me. So I do what I do with every J-style bass is I put round wounds on it. And then we went to the studio to make reunions, I think it was. Yeah, I guess that was the first record that bass was on with us. And when we were doing Be Afraid, Jason played us Be Afraid, and I was like, oh, that's that bass. Pick. And it's got a drop key on it.
Okay, cool.
So it's like, it's that bass with a pick with a drop. And so it became that. And
do you drop to D?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I just dropped to D.
Cool.
Some cats go way lower than that, or start at D and drop to C and all this kind of stuff. I keep it pretty standard.
Right.
for the most part.
I'm not the kind of guy that's great at adapting to like alternate tunings or dropping stuff. I play a 5-string, but I mostly play I play an old Yamaha. It's
nice.
Nathan East. My understanding, it's not he helped design one of the first 5 strings.
Yeah, he did.
And so it's like, I think it's 83. It's an 83 Japanese Yamaha.
Nice.
It's awesome. It's so
awesome.
cool.
Is it a BB?
It is a BB.
Yeah.
And it's they didn't. The anecdote is that like they didn't know how it was going to sell, so they took their biggest 4-string neck and they slapped 5 on it. Which usually is not a big issue to me. I kind of like this tighter string spacing, but the nice part is that they actually like fully adapted their pickups to that.
Oh.
So it's a P, and then it's a J blade, and it's all passive.
All right.
Which is like, I've been looking for, a 5-string to kind of be like, this is my sound, where it's a little off the beaten path. It's whatever.
Yeah. That never ends.
I know.
Turns out.
Turns out.
Yeah.
It starts at 13.
Right, yeah. So
I think you take it to the grave with you.
I know.
I think it goes all the way to the end.
I just need to show this part to my wife.
Yeah.
See?
Never mind that new guitar.
Right, yeah.
It's a step forward in life.
Exactly. It's the new
It's an
me.
investment in the future.
And this me likes to, do dishes
This man
and wash
needs a
clothes
new
more
bass guitar.
and like cut the grass more and be a better man.
So that it will help
So
him
that I
be a
need
more
this.
productive man.
Right.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah.
I relate.
So I got it though, and it's like a lot of these weird, like bizarro Japanese era 5-strings. They'll just like throw the same pickups in it,
Sure.
and just make the housing bigger or do whatever.
Yeah.
But it's a wonderful bass.
They actually engineered it properly.
They made it right. But the big thing is like I mostly just like a 5-string, not always to hit like super low notes.
Sure.
Because the PA probably can't handle it.
Right.
I play an SVT now.
If you have a keyboard player in your band.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I mostly use it as a mechanism to get other places, to be like, this
sure.
note's now here. Oh, this note's now here, without having to, and then like.
Also, that big old string sounds good when you're in the
does
upper register.
Man, it
You
sings.
know, it really does have a
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the same way with a 5. I don't necessarily enjoy going way, way down there.
Right. It's just a tool, like
But
how
I
to
really
use
enjoy going way on up there with it.
Yep.
And it feels kind of funny because you're playing a string length that's like that long.
Yeah.
Which feels kind of strange.
Yeah.
You feel like you're just really tight on the note. But if you can get away from the tactileness of it and just enjoy,
Yeah.
it's a beautiful thing.
And
Fives,
like-
a lot of folks thinks that, the 5 is for getting down there, and it is, but sometimes it's
Right. Sometimes
definitely not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it too because this is like a, certain rooms that people roll their eyes when they're like, oh, you brought a 5-string or whatever. The way it's weird and designed and so skinny, you kind of have to look at it 2 or 3 times to realize it's a 5-string.
Hey, that's
and
cool.
I like that.
Incognito.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, you didn't
You're
know this whole
keeping
time.
with the
Yeah.
aesthetic,
Exactly.
as they say.
But now I'm on like a kick and I keep buying late 70s, early 80s Yamahas from Japan. It's a cool, very different sound.
Yeah, it is. My best friend in high school, a fellow named Daniel Ledford, one of my best friends in high school. I better correct that or they'll all kick my ass. But one of my best friends in school, Daniel Ledford, his dad, Butch Ledford, is a bass player from Muscle Shoals, and he played with a fellow. When I was coming up learning the bass, he was playing with a man named Travis Womack. And I don't know if you're familiar with Travis. And if any of y'all aren't familiar with Travis Womack, you should check out Travis Womack. He's a bad man.
Together.
He's a bad man. And he's responsible for a lot of people moving to Muscle Shoals who later became session musicians and things. Like,
Yeah.
Travis is kind of a pillar of Muscle Shoals that doesn't really get talked about that much. But in fact, my first Fender I got from Travis Womack that he had under his bed for a long time. And my dad had a Les Paul studio guitar that Travis took a shine to, and he offered him a straight up trade for this
Nice.
for this Les Paul studio for like a 73 P bass. It was natural finish. I think it was an ash body. It had a white pick guard and a maple board, and it's such a rare bird now that I think about it. Like, I've been trying to find it ever since I mistakenly let it go. But it was a great bass. I got it from Travis, but But Butch was playing with Travis, and he played a Yamaha BB5000.
Yep, that's the other one I bought.
I've been trying to find one, and they're hard to find.
Really hard to find.
Well, dude, you gotta let up on these BB2000s, man.
One
it was a
popped
PJ, a 4-string.
Yep. Yeah, they were all neck through, all PJ.
Beautiful bass.
I think
put it through a flanger.
Really?
Put flat wounds on it, put it through a flanger, and it'll sound just like Butch Ledford. That sounds awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah. He was funky. Butch is so funky.
That one sounds to me like a hyped up 70s jazz bass. And then my BB5000 visually looks almost the same. But my understanding is like they engineered it closer to be like a passive music man. And then you switch to the P pickup because on the BB2000, the P is reversed.
Yeah.
So it's like, it sounds like a P, but it doesn't.
It's a little
it's
bitier.
different. Yeah.
A little,
so the other one, it's
sounding.
like straight up P bass. And then like in the middle, it's the way it scoops, it sounds more music man-y. But this is a good car. So you play a PJ bass a lot. You play a jazz bass a lot.
Yep.
How do you navigate? Sometimes a P and a J scoops too much. Sometimes like you have to like bump one up or the other to get that volume back. What do you
usually the way I have my blue Sadowski PJ, and the way that the pickups are set, I normally either go all P or straight up in the middle.
Yeah.
Because it's got a blend knob instead of 2 volumes, and I'll just I'll put the blend right in the middle, and that's the sound for It Gets Easier, and I think that might be the only time that I put it in the middle.
Yeah,
the rest of the time is just P bass.
Just a great P bass.
Yeah,
cool.
But I will say that it sounds different than other P basses, and I think maybe it's just because there's that other hole in the body.
Sure.
Or maybe it's just because Roger's a great luthier and none of his instruments are exactly the same. You know, I mean, they're built to the same guidelines and details and everything. But you know, it's a small shop. You know, and so everything that comes out of there is just amazing. Yeah. But each of them have their own personalities. You know? And but this particular PJ sounds a little bit different than a just regular P would. Yeah. I want to say it's a little airier sounding, if that makes any.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
I don't know I don't know how to be specific about it, really. It just sounds loftier, I guess. Yeah. Not quite. I mean, it's a completely different instrument than my 63 P bass. That's like Butterville, you know. It's just, you know, doesn't matter where this hand is or this hand, it just sounds awesome. Yeah. You know, and it doesn't play itself. Sure. Because the 60s ones, they made the radiuses and the neck shapes to where, like, if you're not in the proper position when you're transitioning to another position, you're going to miss the note. So you have to play it right. And I think that's why Leo called it the precision, because you have to play it right or you play it wrong. Right. You know, but the Sadowski is a lot more forgiving. Yeah. And, yeah, Roger, I just talked to him yesterday. I bought the oldest Sadowski I've been able to find. Oh, nice. Which is serial number 760. Okay. And I've only seen one other 3-digit serial in the world. Okay. Of reverb.com. Of the world of reverb. And it's way early, and I don't know, I might wind up with that one too. But this one I found, it was in Japan. And speaking of that smoke thing, so Japan apparently kept smoking in bars longer than America did by half a decade. Fascinating. Or so. And I bought this bass, and it has a pick guard on it, and but it has the modern control layouts. You know, the four knobs in a line, and usually those basses don't have a pick guard. Okay. This one has a pick guard. So I'm thinking, is this an original pick guard? Yeah. The listing says it was possibly not original. So I get it on my couch, you know, and I take the pick guard off, and man, the lack of smoke patina underneath the pick guard. Yeah. it's like a brand new finish. But everywhere else around it, it looks about the same yellow as like my 78 jazz bass.
That's cool.
Yeah, which I refer to as Natty J because it's so gross.
Oh, really?
It's so gross. Like I've had the same strings on it since I got it. I've never polished it. Like it sounds dead. Like one of the tuners rattles.
Nice.
You know.
Nice.
But you plug it into the studio and you plug it into a Neve, man, and
yeah.
Old man rock and roll comes to life.
It's just magic.
Yeah, it just works really well. So I don't ever touch it. I don't clean. I don't do anything.
That's awesome.
Does that one see the road?
It used to.
Okay.
But it doesn't anymore. And I should also mention that bass is kind of what led me into the round wounds. Now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Because it had rounds on it, and I used it on Cumberland Gap.
Sweet.
And it was the same situation. It was like Jason played the song. I was like, oh,
this one.
Jay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Both pickups wide open, pick, tone wide
Time
open.
to get off the bench. You're in, kid.
Everything on 10.
Yeah.
Pick,
Yep.
let's rock.
Yeah.
You know?
That's cool.
That's
and
such a fun song,
fortunately, that bass, a lot of J's that I play tend to, like if you dime both of the pickups, it loses a little bit of volume.
Right.
Have you experienced that? And
It's like a face thing.
This one doesn't do that at all.
That's awesome.
It just stays the same volume with a scoop.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Almost like that better. I don't know.
Yeah, I got it from Graham Roll, who used to play with the band Camino, and he's Duck Dunn's nephew. And,
Learn something new every day.
yeah, and he's a real good friend of mine. And he just hit me up one day. He's like, dude, I got this 78J. He just don't do it for me. You want it? I was like, yeah, dude, I'll come check it out.
Yeah.
You know? And the second I picked it up, I was like, hey, this don't do it for you.
Nice.
What you want, kid?
What do you want? Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess to each their own.
Sure.
Sure.
I find it to be a very fascinating instrument, and
Right.
it sings. It's never had to be set up. It just, it's always been what it is.
How often are you swapping your strings on your Sadowskis and stuff? Like, do you keep it lively on the road, or do you
Keep them pretty lively on the road? Yeah. I think just more for consistency.
Right.
Really, I don't love fresh round wound strings.
Right.
But I think mine get changed about every 4 shows.
That's a great rhythm,
Rounds.
I think.
Like they get to where they're just dead enough to where it's starting to get kind of like, okay, we're losing the edge here.
Right.
You know.
There's something fun about that, though. Like, I feel like I look at my childhood. I'm like, dude, when you put strings on for the first time in your kid, you're like, this is awesome.
You have so much zing, so much high end. It's so bright.
Yeah.
Look how
fresh.
guitar players.
They're not slippery. They're kind of hard to play.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
Oh yeah, they're slick, they're fast. I'm like, I put it on my Strat. I'm like, I'm Stevie. I'm Stevie right now. I'm
Yeah.
Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Yeah.
And it's just it's funny because now I'm like he literally, I bought this bass and he's like, if you're not going to use those old strings, I want to buy them and cover them in Vaseline every day. And I'm like, what a world we're flipping over.
yeah, it's a different ball game.
It's totally different.
The flats, though, the flat round strings hardly ever get changed.
Yep.
They might get changed at the top of the tour, which I think is probably even still too often.
Right.
Do you have to break them in to do that before you go out? Or like, do you do the Vaseline? Do you do anything?
No, I just take them
Just
out
roll
of
with
the,
it.
I like it.
take them out of the bag and put them on the
appreciate
bass.
it.
Yeah.
He's into this like voodoo black magic where you,
Well, I
you gotta
saw-
concoct a formula
Oh,
and
yeah.
pour it on the
Yeah.
bass.
Well, everybody's got their thing.
Right.
So
think
another
it's a
one
Sean
of my
Hurley
favorite bass
thing.
players is Steven Stills.
Okay.
And, you know, he played all that wacky shit on like Wooden Ships and all those Crosby, Stills, and Nash records. And I saw a post the other day where he was sitting there on a stage. It was like an old photo of him, and he's sitting on a stage with a jazz bass, I think, and it's upside down. I think it was a left-handed one, and he'd flipped it over. But there was a caption on the bottom where he said that he would take, if he ever got new strings for a bass, his preparation was to go get barbecue sauce.
Barbecue sauce. Yeah.
He's dipping in the sauce.
Yeah. It's got the sauce.
Dipping in the
man.
sauce. And
that's
then, like,
hilarious.
he said, I'll rub them for a couple of hours
Oh
with
my
barbecue sauce.
Oh my gosh.
Sweet
like,
baby Ray's.
Yeah.
Oh no, I don't even like barbecue sauce.
Dude, you know that smell.
They have to
old
stink to
guitars.
high heaven.
Yeah.
Ooh, damn.
It's already bad when they're old strings, but then you're covering old strings like that.
Yeah.
It smells like old pennies.
Yeah,
And then
right.
you're covering that in barbecue sauce. It's like terrible.
It's old pennies and molasses.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and I love both of them, just not at the same time on my hands.
That
awesome.
stick with you. You know that's under your fingernail.
Yeah. I mean,
That's hilarious.
I mean, maybe just the drugs were better back then or something. I don't know, but
you can just sit around and be like, "This is awesome."
yeah.
Well, let's get a little pointed with it. So currently on tour, on the road, what do you have with you right now? What are you bringing out?
Like instrument wise?
Yeah, what are you bringing out currently?
Well, right now I have all my Sadowskis. Well, I have most of my Sadowskis with me.
How many total are you bringing?
Let's see.
Oh gosh, he's got to count.
I have
like
the blue.
that.
I have the blue PJ with the rosewood board.
Yep,
That has a Sasquatch sticker on it.
love it.
That I have
Nice,
aptly
nice.
named
Squatch
Squatch.
out.
Squatch. Yeah.
Squatch is the name of that bass. And then there's the black one that Newstead gave me, which I have not named. I just call it the black bass.
Yeah. Well, it's got the story already too.
It's because it's black
Yeah.
and it's soul and it's black on the outside and it's just all about the fucking rock, man. And then I brought 760 with me this time that I have affectionately named George because I put flat wounds on it. And it's weird what led me to put flat wounds on it, but I decided at some point, maybe I'll try flats with this one. And it works really
And you're
well.
like, nice. This is this one. This one does that.
And then I have a fretless. That's like a P. It's a Will Lee model, but it has a P bass pickup in the neck and a soap bar in the bridge.
Cool.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I've used it in the studio a lot with
Do you run
various
both those
people.
pickups together?
Yeah, I usually run it in the middle.
I don't think I've heard anything like that.
I usually drop it in the middle, and depending on the room, if the room is super boomy, I'll sneakily turn on the mid boost.
Yeah,
So
because
that
the
it
Willies have that
lifts a little bit in my ears.
Yeah.
I try not to tell anybody that, but I use the mid boost for not solos, but for grooving.
But for the grooving.
So we're at 4 total now?
Yeah, and then I have another Sadowski that is just a P bass,
Sick.
which is a rare bird.
Okay.
But this one was made in Tokyo,
Okay.
Nice.
and it is every bit as good as instrument as the ones from New York.
Were those
I
the ones
mean-
that have the RSD or like Sadowski design?
No. This
Okay.
one's Sadowski Tyo.
Oh, okay. So that's older, I think.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, they Roger started doing the more affordable instruments out of Japan originally,
Cool.
and
What a legacy. and
being
place
that
with
he is a
instrument
man
making.
of detail and high quality standards. The cats that were building the Sadowskis in Tokyo in the 90s were, I mean, just like I said, it's every bit as good an instrument as one from New York.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it has like it's an ash body, blackguard, maple fretboard, but it has like a 50s almost big neck,
Oh, cool.
like almost too big,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But it rocks. I put rounds on that one.
Cool.
Yeah, because we when we did Georgia Blue, I went in the studio with the 63 with the flats and my 72 with the rounds. And turns out a P bass with round wounds and a pick is great for Allman Brothers songs.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can really grind away on some Allman Brothers tunes with some rounds on a P. And that's like the Elizabeth Reed tone is just a P bass with a pick and rounds. But my version of it anyway. But and so I have that one, and it has rounds, and then I have my Kala ukulele bass, the U bass with me.
Yep.
For things like Dreamsicle and St. Peter's Autograph and Codeine, a lot of those sorts of numbers.
Sounds like a lot of my favorite songs there.
I mean,
songs.
they're all fun to play.
They're so
that's for
cool,
sure,
man. I like the variety too.
Yeah.
That's the life goal. It's like I have a general rule that I try not to bring more guitars than the singer. Or like if the singer is an instrumentalist, mostly because we're traveling in a van right now.
I don't think I could ever bring more guitars than Jason.
I know, so it's like, you're great. That's what.
I think he knows that. I think I know that. I think everybody knows
so you're cool.
Yeah. And he keeps getting awesome guitars too, man. He just got this 60 Les Paul. That's like a Cherry custom triple bucker situation. I think they made 6 of them or a dozen of them for Sweden to sell in Sweden.
He's a collector.
Do you think you could
And it sounds so cool. It's got like that Leo Nocentelli kind of pluckety, you know, kind of thing.
Cool.
You know, it can really nail that really well. And it's a funky guitar. I love it.
That's awesome.
He keeps coming up with the coolest guitars, man.
You've got some cool guitars.
Yeah, we're lucky. Yeah. We're lucky, man.
Yeah, it's awesome.
For sure.
do you think, so if you were ever doing a weird fly gig or something, do you think you could do it in 2 basses or do it in 1 bass?
Oh, yeah.
Or are you too attached to the way it should sound?
Yeah.
Not too attached, that's the wrong way to put it, but like, could you do a gig on 1 bass?
Oh, totally. Totally. I mean, there were times when I only owned 1 bass.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there was a period of time where I owned 2 basses, and one of them was for work and the other one was for the pawn shop. You know, because, I mean, you got to pay your rent sometimes.
Yeah.
You know.
Got that loaner.
And that was, you know, fortunately, I lived down the street from some very friendly pawn dealers at the time, and they were empathetic to my situation and
that's awesome.
Worked with me,
yeah,
if you will. You know, for a little while. I mean, I'm not particularly proud of that period in my life, but it happened.
Sure. What for your fly gig, are you popping off the Noble, or are you bringing the board, or like what?
Yeah, I'll bring the board.
Or?
Most of the time, I'll bring the board. Like we did our last European tour. I kind of had to pare it down a little bit. I brought 2 guitars. I brought the blue one and the black one.
Yep.
And brought the new Noble.
New Noble.
Because it's not attached to my American road rig. And it's, I think it's already dual voltage too. Like I don't think you
flip a little
crazy
thingy.
Does it.
Which is like awesome design.
Yeah,
like,
it's great. It's great.
Maybe that's why I'll get one.
To go to Europe?
Yeah, because maybe in the next year, we might have and I'll have it then.
That's like our running, bro. You never know.
That's our running joke. We have yet to make it through an episode without mentioning the Noble. Usually it's me because I love it so much.
You can't not mention it.
But Nick was in the market and he didn't realize how sought after they were.
No. I fully realized. You just have to look at it and say, do I have the ability to wait? This is not a joke. 45 weeks is the current list.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I'm waiting on a Sadowski right now, and I put the deposit in September when we were in New York last for Pier 17, and I'm fully anticipating to wait until next September, coming September.
You have to wait for greatness.
There's only one wait list I know of that's deeper, and it's the King of Tone.
Yeah,
and that's a 3-year.
Sure.
Yeah,
but you're only putting down, what do they retail? $300?
Right.
It's something. Maybe
if
it's
you
not
can
that
find
low,
one.
but well, to get on the wait list is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But if you find one online now, don't forget about it. I mean, you forget about it.
Yeah.
But it's that same thing. It's
like buying a Klon.
Right.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
It's just like with the Noble. Can you wait? Or if you pay the expedited shipping, 6 weeks wait time, and it's like $700 extra.
Yeah. Right.
I know he still makes them all himself.
He does.
Which I think is amazing.
Yeah.
But totally. I would love him to have him on the podcast one day. I haven't asked him.
Yeah.
But
Jack, you got to be on the show.
Here's the clip.
Talking about you every damn time. You got to come over here and explain everything.
I feel like he teased it one time and said something about a compressor.
Oh, man.
And so
I was talking to him about a compressor one time.
Yeah, so it was like, hey, man, look, I know, like, you still sign your name on it, whatever. Just get your best friend who's just as good as your design and make that compressor. And bonus points, if the compressor had all the, like, 9-volt, like, power jacks and it clicked in, see? You heard it. If it was like a clicky situation,
You're like mating the two.
Exactly.
Physically.
Exactly.
That's
Or make a
next level.
version, you know?
That's next level, dude.
Yeah, dude. And it just feeds power on that. Anyway.
Yeah.
All pedals should be like that.
Yeah.
It's genius.
Yeah.
Why are we messing with these patch cables?
Capitalism.
Why don't we just make...
they don't want you to connect
Why
it all,
can't
man.
they use magnetism?
Wow. That's an interesting thought.
Why can't you make a magnetic plug
Yeah.
where, like, maybe you have to have a 1/4-inch plug to go in, but the output, if you intend to stack it on another pedal, just magnetically connect it.
It'd be amazing.
I don't know if I'm giving away a lot of secrets here, but
Big Bass doesn't want you to say that.
magnets and big bass, and pedal land, big pedal land, Digitech.
Magnets. Philosophy.
I know people at Digitech. He's probably going to watch this and go, "Oh my God, that's a great idea."
How have I not thought of
And it
it?
is, Dane. It is a good idea. Follow it.
Just cut him in. And
Just
then,
cut me in about 20%.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
The signature Jimbo Hart pedal
That's
line is all
You
magnetic.
can't plug them into anything except themselves.
You have to buy into the ecosystem, my man.
There's an output pedal.
Yes, right.
Just so you can get out of the chain.
You're like, help me.
You got to buy the board because the board supplies the power from under.
The board,
like the Apple
board
Watch
powers
charger.
everything. The pedals are all connected together. You can stack them any way
Right,
you
yeah,
want.
yeah.
You know?
Or like vertical.
But then you have to like
hat.
literally bend down and pick it up and move this one over and plop that one down and oh man, that could be fun.
Look at that.
I mean, there's nothing that could go wrong with that.
No, nothing.
Nothing could possibly go wrong.
Absolutely not.
No loss of contact between the magnets.
No.
No reverse polarity, meaning they're pushing each other apart.
Yeah.
You know?
There's one thing I know
Nothing could
about
go
doing
wrong with
live
that.
sound. There's no interference or radio waves
No.
at
No
all.
radio stations
That would,
close.
That's the best thing about wireless in-ear monitoring is there's never anything to interrupt the
Except
flow.
for the ocean waves when you turn. Right?
And
The 5 o'clock news.
The possible seagull going over the top of the venue.
Or it does like a...
Yeah, or
thing.
just dies for a second, and just
Oh, yeah. You know,
silence, and then
bass.
back.
Yeah.
And it's like back at the same volume.
Yeah.
So it's kind of startling.
Yeah.
In a way.
You're like, did my batteries die? Or, and I'm back. And where are we?
Wow.
Or, you know.
Here again.
Yeah.
Here we are again. Yeah.
Dude, man, thank you so much for taking the time
Yes.
to talk to us.
Thank you so
and
much.
to hang out.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, is there anything you're
should do it again
pushing right
sometime.
now? You guys are on
Yes.
tour. I'd love to. You guys are on tour. I don't know. You're always releasing. You're a busy man. So
Wind up that way sometimes.
is it just like check Instagram and see what's hip these days for what you want, or
Well, I mean, there's just so much stuff going on right now.
Yeah.
I and a friend of mine, John Davis from the band The Pollies down in Muscle Shoals, put out an EP not too long ago, and we named the band Water Gun.
oh, cool.
And it's sort of grungy. I don't
Like it?
You know, it's different. It's all. Speaking of, I'm just going to just be very nerdy really quickly here.
Let's do it.
When I was doing that EP, I used the black bass.
Cool.
And we were talking about mic and cabinets earlier. I have two sort of modern B15 cabs. And I took this yoga mat and I put it on the floor. And I put one B15 cab at the end. And then I took the other one and pointed it at the other one. And then put a DI on the speaker output. And then plugged it into my Neve preamp. And
That's awesome.
That's sweet.
and it took 3 different occasions to get it right. But because there's some phase trickery going on
Absolutely.
there. But after a while and some calculating, I had to use some actual geometric equations to figure this out. But I wound up with 2 different measurements out of this equation, and I thought, okay, one of those is going to work like perfectly. The first one did not work at all.
It's never
Right.
good.
The second one, dude.
Nice.
Magic.
And the advantage is I did it on a yoga mat. So now there's prints on the yoga mat to where
Yeah,
to put
you
the
can
thing.
replicate the
You just put the
distances.
cabs on. So y'all try that at home sometime.
Wow.
Take 2 identical bass cabs and point one of them at the other and do a little volume of a cone
Yeah.
formula, plugging and playing. And then just put a DI on the speaker output.
Yeah. Because microphones and speakers are just diaphragms.
Yeah.
Like it can go both ways.
Yeah. I mean, not saying that I did not hear my neighbor like opening his door in the house behind me.
Yeah.
Because it's a 15-inch diaphragm at that point. Mm-hmm. But dude.
Yeah.
Fun.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
Fun times.
Do you engineer yourself very often, or were you?
Well, yeah, 50-50.
Yeah. Do you have a home studio?
Oh yeah, kind of.
That'll be next time.
Yeah, there's some stuff. I got some stuff.
Yeah.
Is that a
I could
humble
never
man?
tell. Well, thanks again. Thanks for checking this out. Check out Mr. Jimbo Hart on the socials, and we'll link that project Water Gun.
We'll throw a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And like, there's such a catalog. Like, there's so much good stuff.
Yeah, I play on a lot of stuff for people.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of stuff. I mean, yeah, I don't even know where to start. There's so
We'll
many
link it.
And that's a great place to start.
There's
Like,
another little rock and
just
roll
find
band
it.
that I played bass for in the studio. They're from Birmingham. They're called the Mummy Cats.
Okay. I love Birmingham.
They got some cool stuff going on.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah,
We'll
the
add it
Mummy
to the
Cats.
list.
Boom. Well, thanks.
Hey, rock and roll, y'all. Thanks for having me.